Hi everyone, this is Harry Karanassos from the Foundry of Ideas. This video is part of a video series on woodworking tools and projects. Hopefully it will make it easier for you to find exactly what you're looking for. Hey guys, welcome to my latest video. In fact, this video is a substitute for the one that I uploaded 2 days ago, which for some unknown reason played video and audio for the first 5 minutes and then the video disappeared and the audio continued. So obviously this was a very unfortunate circumstance, and I do apologize to those of you who tried to watch the video and could not do so. Any case, I hope that with this video I will provide you with some more detail and give you all the particulars of the tools that I used and the method that I used to construct a round disc sub-base plate for my Bosch POF 1200 AE router. It's I hope that you will find the video very helpful, and I hope also that you will find it very informative and entertaining. So here we go. For some time now I have made quite a few inquiries, watched videos, looked into various magazines and so on, but nobody seems to be able to give an exact idea as to why the base of a router is partially circular and partially straight. This is the sub-base plate that came with my router, and what I want to point out to you is an example. Supposing you have your router doing work in this area here. The router is utilizing this steel profile, let's call it aluminium profile better, as a fence, and this is where the router works, in this direction, back and forth, so to speak. So in the first instance, the router moves this way, and as it moves this way with the rounded part of the sub-base plate against the aluminium fence, if you turn the router like so, the distance of the center point, which is also the cutting bit of the router, remains the same whether you turn it like that or whether you turn it like that. So you can imagine that as you move the router, if you move the router like so, still the center point will cut a straight line. Now, this is the story when you are using the rounded part of the sub-base plate. If you are using the straight part, like so, the straight part against the fence, then we move down, and all of a sudden, for some reason unknown, we make a mistake and we turn the router like this. Now, you see, what is happening here is that the router, when it is moving in accordance with the straight face here, then the center of the router is somewhere here. So let's say this is the line that the center of the router is following. However, once the router, through some accident or whatever, moves like that, then the center is here, which is quite different from the line that we were anticipating in the first place, which is here. Right, let me bring the camera a little bit closer and I'll show you more in detail. Right, now, supposing we have again, let's go through this example. Supposing we have again the router lying with the circular part of the sub-base plate against this aluminum fence. As you can see, the center of this aperture is approximately where that little star is located. And whether I move like this or whether I move with the router like this, or even if I turn it all the way to the other side like this, this is the line the center bit of the router will follow. Therefore, there will be no deviation of cutting away from this line here. However, let us now turn the router with the flat part of the sub-base plate, and if I'm here, I can see that the center will be here. Now we're talking about this little star. So long as I move the router and the flat face of the sub-base plate remains in contact with the aluminum fence, we are okay, because the router bit will cut along this line. However, if for some reason or another, whilst I'm moving like that, the router for some reason, an accident, call it what you wish, turns like that, then we can easily see that the center point will move here. So now, let us for a moment ignore this point, which was from the previous example. Now we see that whilst originally the router was cutting along this line, all of a sudden, because of our accident, it's gone up this way. So it was cutting like that, and then it moved over here. The distance between here and the fence is totally different to the distance between here and the fence at this position. And of course you appreciate that if an accident like this takes place, then your workpiece will be damaged to the extent that you may have to throw it away. It's unfortunate, but it has happened. And so one has got to be extremely careful when one is using the flat part of the sub-base plate to do a cut. Because if that's the story, this is way out here. To correct a situation like this, I have decided to substitute the original router plate, sub-base plate, with a new sub-base plate that is completely circular. In this situation, I made a new disc to serve as a sub-base plate using acrylic perspex. And basically, let me show you how this was done. A piece of acrylic of maybe 20 by 20 centimeters was used, and the disc was cut out of this piece. So this is our new sub-base plate. Now, to use this sub-base plate on the router, I have arranged for a flat edge here. I'm talking about this edge, which I have secured with a clamp, and of course I have this aluminium bar here, which is also secured to the bench. So I brought this acrylic piece here, and at the same time I superimposed the original sub-base plate. I looked that they were both touching exactly at the same locations, therefore there was no deviation of the curvature of the acrylic from the curvature of the original sub-base plate. In this position I marked 1, 2, 3 points where the securing screws hold the original sub-base plate to the router. So we are looking really at 1, 2, 3 locations. At the same time, I marked the opening of this aperture here. And so I had the acrylic plate fully marked to work with. Now, to cut that, I used a solid Carbide 2 Flute straight router bit, and for that one I have a separate picture so you can see it in full detail. So basically, once my disc was ready, I drilled 1, 2, 3 holes in the locations where the marks corresponded with the original sub-base plate, and also, of course, I had marked this aperture opening here. Now, as in direct continuation, I placed my acrylic on my drilling bench, and I drilled the 3 holes for the securing screws as well as the big opening. The big opening, I utilized a 53mm hole saw. And this I ordered having measured the diameter of the original sub-base plate, which I found to be 53 millimeters as well. So, with this hole saw fitted to my drill, bench drill, I cut the central aperture. A word of perhaps advice as well as advice as well as warning is that when you use this type of hole saw to cut on acrylic, it will create quite a bit of a molten acrylic on the periphery of the hole here. Therefore, in due course, I had to machine this surface here to get rid of all the acrylic that had melted. Equally, the process of drilling the holes, and especially drilling this one, is quite long-winded. And at the end of the day, once you have drilled your holes here, you need to take the acrylic over to another drill that I use and dress up this surface. You attach this cylinder, which is covered in sandpaper, and again you will have to do quite a bit of work to get rid of all the pieces of acrylic that have melted around the central aperture. One point that I will have to clarify for you here is how one finds the center of this piece of acrylic. Cutting it round as a disc is the easy part. However, getting the center of it, you have to use a little gadget that I made in order to find out where is the center. The gadget I'm talking about is this one. This gadget is made out of two pieces of wood that are at 90 degrees to each other, at right angles to each other. And then I glued and screwed this piece of wood here, which is a straight piece of wood, and this was glued in such a way that this edge is at 45 degrees to this edge and this edge. So, how we work with this? Well, the answer is very simple. Basically, all we do is we take our piece of acrylic, like so, and we make sure that the acrylic is in firm contact with this side as well as with this side. We draw a line here. Let me point it out this way so you can better understand it, along here. Then I rotate the disc a few degrees, and again I take with my pencil and I draw a line here. For the third time I rotate, and again I make sure that I am in contact here and here, and now I have on my disc 3 pencil lines which are crossing each other, and the point at which they are crossing each other is the center of the disc. It's a very simple gadget, but it does an excellent job for what we needed. Right. Having done all this, having cut the center aperture and having drilled the holes for the securing screws, the next point that one has to ascertain and ensure is that the base of the new sub-base plate is in line with the center line of the router, and the center line, as we know, passes through the center of the collet and goes beyond here where we've got the motor of the router. So, for the purpose of making sure that this new sub-base plate is centered properly, we have to use another gadget, which is actually made by Bosch, and it is very useful. Let me show you. The gadget that I'm talking about is called a centering cone, and let me show you the pieces here. The centering cone comprises two pieces. One piece is the actual cone. It's fairly hollow on this side, and this is the actual surface that we will use. The other piece, the piece number 2, so to speak, is a shaft This is a steel shaft, which, as you can see, consists of a large diameter part here and a thinner diameter part at the top. All we do is we insert the shaft like so, with the thinner part of the shaft protruding above the cone. You can see it better here. So, the next step in this exercise is to take the router and plunge it so that the collet is as near to the top as possible. Having done that, take this cone and with the thin part of the shaft insert it in the collet. Once you are satisfied that this is firm, use the little what shall we call this? Call it ratchet, call it what you like, and make sure that you press the red button that is at the back here. You can see the red button here. Let me point it to you. I'm talking about this one. And basically, when you press this, it arrests the movement of the collet. So, with this tool, you can secure the collet and the shaft. Right. Now, here we have the lever that regulates the plunging of the router. Very slowly release the lever and let the sub-base plate come up together with the rest of the base of the router. Once you are there, you have already released the screws of the sub-base plate, so the sub-base plate is free to move. And so, once contact has been made with the cone and the sub-base plate, have a look to see if there are any areas where there are gaps and so on. If there are gaps, with the sub-base plate moving, because we have not tightened those 3 screws, move the sub-base plate until there is no gap between the perspex and the cone. Once you have achieved that, then tighten the 3 nuts, and that's the end of the story. Once you have tightened the nuts, then again, using the plunge lever, press down the sub-base plate to expose the cone once again. Now, we shall do the reverse of what we did before, and using this spanner, we shall open the collet, loosen the collet, so that we can remove the cone. And now we have achieved a situation whereby the sub-base plate is center to the line that is passing through the center of the collet, and therefore it is center to the router system, so to speak. Just before you put the router away, just make sure by rubbing your finger all along the curved part, like so, that again this plate is tangential to the aluminium plate here. And basically, once you have achieved that, you are ready to use your router any old direction you want to move it against the so-called fence here, because now we have an axis that is passing through the center of a circle, and therefore no matter how much we turn the router, the distance of the cutting bit in the center will always be the same from the fence, or from whichever point we want it to be. Well, we have reached the end of this video. I am delighted to be with you once again, and I thank you very much for taking the time to go through this presentation with me. I do hope that you have found my video informative and useful, and so I would ask you to consider liking it and to subscribe to my channel. If you have any points that you wish to raise, or if you have any questions which are connected to this video, please leave them below in the comments. Your comments are valuable to me because I do try to produce videos that are related to the points that I receive from you. Your comments help me to make better videos. Stay safe, healthy and happy, and I hope to see you in my next video.